Of course, we're here to celebrate the centenary of Harley-Davidson, but did you know there were at least 150 other manufacturers of motorcycles in the States in the first half of the 20th century? Now, obviously, the men who had the most influence on the design and the engineering of this motorcycle are those whose names you find on the tank: William S. Harley and the Davidson brothers. Although, by the way, did you know that this most American of machines, an icon of Americanness, was actually created by an Englishman, Harley, and the Davidsons, who were of Scottish extraction? So it's probably more of a British bike than a Triumph, but that's by the way. Another man who had a massive influence in the development of the American motorcycle was, of course, Henry Ford, because by the 1920s he'd made cars affordable. And so whereas in Europe we looked at bikes for a long time as cheap transport, it was never like that in the States. I mean, just look at this gorgeous 1934 VDL. A motorcycle like this was never going to be cheap transport now, was it? Not unless your name was Carnegie or Vanderbilt. This 1934 Harley-Davidson VDL was a fast, powerful, luxurious and eye-wateringly expensive motorcycle at the time, and the problem was the time, the 1930s, the decade of the Great Depression. There had been more than 150 motorcycle manufacturers in the States. By the middle of the 30s, there were just two, Indian and Harley. 20 years later, only Harley remained. They must have been doing something right. Harley had a good war, because right from the start they realised that this little local difficulty in Europe wasn't just going to be a flash in the pan. They switched all their production to match the military need, and they made almost 100,000 of this iconic machine, the WLA, better known as the 45 on account of the 45 cubic inch displacement of its V-twin engine, that's 750cc in English. They didn't just make them for the US military either. We had them, the French had them, and it was nicknamed, as well as the 45, the Liberator, because this was often the first thing that people in occupied Europe saw as a sign that their town had been liberated, a GI on a Harley-Davidson proffering chocolate, cigarettes and freedom.